Thanks for listening to the Free For All After Party from Fox 4. The best news, sports, and weather is available anytime at fox4news.com. Now, enjoy the show. Everyone, welcome to Free For All After Party, the podcast. It's Sammy the G with MFD on this Wednesday, March 23rd. We're almost through March. Is that crazy?
It really is. It's flying by in this town. It always does. Always stuff to talk about. Am I working this microphone correctly, by the way?
Yeah, you can do that.
Am I?
mean, you can also
into the screen.
Yeah, you can also do it. We're still getting used to these, twist it a little.
That feels more comfortable.
You just put your hand on it right like that. Good grip, you're fine. I honestly feel like when the springtime comes, though, I feel like the months go by faster and faster. In a month, it's about to be balls hot in here, so that's going to be fun, or outside. So that'll be great. The one thing about Dallas and the temperatures is that I feel like all of a sudden it becomes hot, and then it's hot for about 10 months out of the year. And I just don't like how hot it gets for such a long period of time here. Agree or disagree?
As someone who grew up in the upper Midwest with just horrible winters, I suppose I complain about it when it drags on in September and stuff. But for the most part, if you get out early enough in the morning, which I know is kind of a foreign concept for you, you can enjoy the outdoors. And producer Landry just quoting Sammy, balls hot.
Yeah,
Sammy G.
It's hot out.
Anyway, it's hot in Texas, and I'm fine with it. There's so many perfect days here when you think about it. Like today was a perfect day. I mean, sunny and crisp. I bet you there are 150 days that you could classify as perfect. Sunny, temperature between 45 and 80. It doesn't get much better than that. So stop complaining and just enjoy the fact.
I just wish there was an ocean here.
That we live in this wonderful place that we do. And go down to Galveston once in a while.
I don't like Galveston.
There's a Gulf down there.
That beach is like the ugliest of beaches I've ever seen. I don't like Galveston. It's too seas.
How many times have you been there?
I've been once, and I didn't.
Give it another try. If you get out far west enough. I know it's not ideal. It's not Destin or one of those Disney beaches, but it's. I guess maybe I just like Texas. That's just kind of.
I do too. I know. I feel like I'm ripping Dallas. I'm not trying to, or Texas. I like it here. Don't worry. We got to hear from the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys the other day. Mm-hmm. First time we've heard from him since the season ended. Over at Walk-Ons. I don't know if you guys out there have ever been there. It's a bistro. Cajun bistro. It was founded in Louisiana, I believe. They have a bunch of them there. Dak is a franchise partner, part owner of Walk-Ons. He has a percentage in that company. And he made a little appearance. It was kind of funny, Mike, how the afternoon went, though, in terms of... Now, mind you, whenever the quarterback of a franchise speaks, everyone is going to be there to go listen to him, especially when it's the Cowboys quarterback, right? I mean, we hadn't heard from him. So, but it was interesting because we were told a couple things that wouldn't be happening before the interview.
Yeah, so we get there, and all the beat writers are there, all the Cowboys beat writers, all the TV stations, and a PR person from, I'm guessing, the restaurant chain came up to, or no, the PR person told the PR guy who was coordinating the event, who's a gentleman who's been in the media here before for a long time, really good guy, kind of knows how to massage the media, if you will, said, hey, just to let you guys know, this is 10 minutes before Dak was scheduled to speak, just to let you know, I'm told Dak will talk about this event, his foundation, but he's not going to talk any football. Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh, Christ, really?
Mike sent me a text because he was there before me pulling up, because Mike... We had an idea. Mike is very type A when it comes to the show. He sends out his daily notes, which, no, I'm not. I like that about you. Fine. He sends out his daily notes. So we'll talk about in the office the night. Sorry, I'm pivoting. We'll talk about the night before what the next day is going to be. So we had this whole plan of, okay, when was this? Monday show, we were going to lead with Dak Prescott because we're going to get him talking about all this stuff. So I hadn't gotten there yet. Mike pulls up, he goes, we're not allowed to ask football questions. And before I was like, oh, he's pissed.
Yeah.
Ducey, when he has a plan and he has it in his mind and then we stray from it, it's not good.
Well, the wheels were turning, let's put it that way. But by the same token, and in talking to the other reporters as well, we all kind of thought we'd be surprised if he wouldn't talk, because we've heard this before. And sometimes, PR people are doing their jobs. They're trying to protect, in this case, the athlete. As we talked about on our show that night, Dak is a guy who doesn't need that kind of protection. He's a really smart guy.
He gets it.
He knows what he needs to do. He knew that he needed to address some things. And, nobody's going to talk to him about the off-the-field crap that's been going on with the Cowboys. That's not something he can control or needs to address necessarily. But in terms of the way free agency's gone or hasn't gone, the players they've lost, the players they've decided to re-sign, clearly he wanted to talk about that. And Clarence Hill from the Star-Telegram got the ball rolling, asking him about the shoulder surgery. And then Dak's eye kind of had a twinkle in his eye.
Give
looked
him
at
a little
Clarence
wink.
like, okay, you want the other stuff too. Let's do it. So he talked. And we've talked about this before. Whether Dak is ultimately the quarterback to take them to the promised land or not, I don't know. But as a guy, as the type of person you want leading your franchise, I think he is, without a doubt, that kind of guy. And that was another example of it. The fact that, and he knew that he just needed to talk about some things, and he did, and he got it out of the way, and it was nothing explosive. He said kind of what you would expect him to about, CeeDee Lamb's the number one receiver. I have total confidence in him. Hate to lose the guys we've lost. It's my least favorite part about the league, on and on in that regard. And, he talked, and we'll hear from him here in a moment, I guess. But I thought he handled it well, and it was, a nice segment for us Monday night. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah, we actually have that audio of him talking about CeeDee Lamb and his belief that he's going to be the number one guy, losing Amari Cooper. And Mike asked him if he thought the roster is as good now as it was a few weeks ago. And here's what he had to say.
This is the hardest part of the league to me. Just watching teammates and watching friends, watching men that you've grown with over the past few years on the field and off the field leave and depart, and just understanding that's the business of this game, and obviously sharing words with both of those guys, knowing just how much they've impacted my career, how much they mean to me as people, as players, and excited for them, excited for their next chapters. I know they'll do great things, and excited for this team. And obviously, as you said, signing Michael Gallup and the new inquiries, whether it be Washington, whether it be on the defensive side or what's to come. Just excited for the things that I can control, and I'm going to continue to do that, do everything I can to make this team better, to put us in the best position that we can moving forward this offseason and head into training camp.
You think the roster is as good as it was a couple of weeks ago?
I mean, things happen and things change. I think it will be to that standard here soon. Obviously, things aren't done. Free agency isn't done. The draft's not done, so a lot of the roster is yet to come. So as I said, I'll handle the things out of control, handle the guys that are in the locker room, make sure that we're growing and we're starting our brotherhood and our culture. And as I said, just progressing to get to the place that we want to be. Yeah, there's no doubt he is. And I think that's part of that move. You look at a guy like CeeDee and just what he's done in his first 2 years, and it's exciting. It's exciting, and just to know this, it's only the beginning. He hadn't even scratched the surface, and just for him to be the one, to be the main guy, I know he's going to be ready for it. I know he's already doing the things he needs to do necessary to have a great offense and control the things he can, and it's going to be exciting.
So, yeah, Mike, before we get into what he said there in terms of football talk, whether you're a Dak believer or not at this point, whether or not you believe he's going to lead this team to the promised land and win a Super Bowl, that still remains to be seen. I personally believe we still haven't seen the best of Dak Prescott's game, but the way that he handles himself, I don't think you can knock the guy. I mean, when you talk about, and Bob Sturm and Corby Davidson talked about this on the ticket, that the NFL quarterback position might be the most highly scrutinized position in all of sports, and especially when you're talking about the Dallas Cowboys, because national shows find a way to put them in on the daily, whether it's talking about something good, and a lot of times it's talking about something negative or maybe off the field. But the way he handles himself, he's a class act, and I don't know that there's too many people out there or athletes out there that could take that on. And I personally believe he's able to do that because of everything that he's gone through personally in his life. He's been through some traumatic things, losing his mother to cancer, losing his brother to suicide. He was very open a year ago about dealing with mental health and that it's okay to ask for help, and then the season-ending injury he had a season ago. I mean, these are all things that shape you as a man, your character, and I just believe that's a big part of why he's able to take the brunt of that. I don't know that there's too many guys. I think there's a lot of guys out there that would fold under that type of pressure, to be honest.
I don't know how close he is to Troy Aikman, but he reminds me so much of Aikman in the way that he deals with the media and just presents himself in the public. Reminds me of the way Troy was when he played, in that you can see that beneath the shell, beneath the veneer, there's a really smart guy, a really thoughtful guy, a guy with a great personality that he isn't always going to show you because it doesn't serve him well to do that right now. But he knows what his responsibilities are as the quarterback of this team, not just on the field, but as we said, off the field and in the public. And he handles that really well. So I'm glad we got a chance to talk to him. I'm glad he, talked a little bit about football, and it'll be a while now before we see him and hear from him again.
I wish
probably.
we could get him on this pod. That would be cool just to see, Dak uncensored, because you can tell when he's asked questions, you can tell that he thinks before he speaks, because he knows that anything he says is going to pick up traction with whatever he's talking about, the team, anything off the field. But I don't know. I just have a lot of respect for the way he goes about his business. And, disappointing finish is an understatement for how this team ended the season. But I think he wants to win more than anyone. I really do. And I think if you were to ask him, the only thing he cares about is getting this team to a Super Bowl.
And it's funny, to hear him talk about hating to lose guys. And I obviously he'd rather have Amari Cooper than not have him. When you look at the decisions that have been made, and we've said this before, I think on our show probably. Bottom line is, if he wanted Amari Cooper on this team, I think Amari would be on the team right now.
Right.
If it came down to keeping Cooper or franchising Dalton Schultz, I think Dak wanted Schultz to be on the team. And you look at the numbers last year, and they're reflective of that. I don't think that he could depend on Cooper the way that he wanted to.
No.
Whether that's fair or not to Cooper doesn't matter. The fact is, the way the quarterback feels is what matters. He thinks he does have a number one receiver, a superstar, in CeeDee Lamb.
He loves CeeDee
and
Lamb.
I happen to agree. I think it's just a matter of whether Lamb can stay healthy. You wonder if he's a little frail to be a guy who's out there, taking the
Maybe
kind of
he'll
shots
put
that
on
a
some
wide
weight.
receiver does. Yeah, I can give him some tips on that. But
You're being strict right now, though. You're not having sweets because of Lent, right?
well, the only thing I have managed to stay away from that I promised myself I would. I'm so weak. I've not had a Mountain Dew. Is this 3 weeks? Was it 3 weeks ago, Ash Wednesday, or just 2?
Landry, tell us. I don't know, because I'm not giving up
Landry's
anything
like,
for
what
Lent.
Ash Wednesday?
Which, speaking of, I have a funny story to tell in a second.
Anyway, I've stayed off the dew, which
You've done
has
good.
probably prompted me to get 3 weeks. Thank
It's
you.
funny. My vice is Diet Coke. I don't know if there's Diet Coke fans out there, but
Oh, God.
I could cut out everything else, but I cannot cut out Diet Coke. And Diet Coke is, I'm thinking I know it's all about Dr. Pepper down here, which I've had it, Diet Dr. Pepper, but I have to have Diet Coke. And anytime I go out to a restaurant, everyone knows this about me. I order Diet Coke with lemon, and everyone here thinks I'm weird. Everyone back home knows that's like my thing. Anyway, no, the story.
As vices go, that isn't a bad one. By the
Yeah.
way.
The other thing I wanted to say was yesterday, because Mike is trying to eat healthy and stuff, which I am
That's
too.
right.
But this was funny because we're going to be talking about Razor Reaugh of the Dallas Stars in a second. But we went to interview him yesterday, and Mike's like, we're about to go. And Mike's like, well, Sam, I'm going to go grab like a little snack or something before I head back to the office, or a salad or whatever. I was like, well, I'm coming with you since you drove me over here.
By the way.
So I guess we're going together. So we decide to go through the McDonald's drive-thru, which, if you guys know McDonald's, they actually do have salads, and I've gotten a salad there before. So we pull up, and Mike's like, hey, can I have a salad, whatever. And the guy goes, oh, well, you don't sell salads. He goes, okay. And I could tell, Mike's brain's turning. He's going for the grilled chicken now. That's the move, the grilled chicken sandwich. He
It's
goes,
the
all
second
right.
healthiest thing.
So I'll take a grilled chicken sandwich. He goes, well, we don't do grilled chicken here either. And Mike goes, and he was irritated. I could tell. He goes, all right, well, we'll see you. we'll see you later. And he pulls away, almost in like rage that this McDonald's does not sell grilled chicken or salads anymore.
Is the entire franchise stopped doing that? I have a hard time believing that.
It's been a long, I don't know. I would think that they would have grilled chicken and maybe that. Mike didn't take us to the greatest part of town, by the way. Put it to you that there was a lot of those, what do you call those things with bail bonds?
Yeah.
That's where Mike took us.
So then we went to Burger King and got the same response about the salads. So we had a chicken sandwich
Mike
and
said,
some fries.
"Screw it."
And just had about 2,000 calories instead.
And I've really been I'm trying to stay away from that stuff too, but I could not resist. Burger King has the most amazing chicken fries. I don't know if you guys have had them. If you haven't, you need to try them. They are literally the best. So I had to get that and fries, and Mike bought it for me, so thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. We'll do a salad next time. Maybe.
So anyway, pivoting to the NHL, and it was a very big day for one broadcaster in particular, Mike.
Yeah, Daryl Razor Reaugh, 25th year in the Stars broadcast booth, and he's outstanding. Yeah, I'm a play-by-play guy at my core, and so I really enjoy listening to guys who are good play-by-play announcers, and I think Josh, his partner, is really good, and Razor's an outstanding analyst. And Razor did the games before you got here for years with a guy named Ralph Stranges, so it was Ralph and Razor. And then Razor briefly moved into play-by-play, and I know really enjoyed that, and now is back in the analyst role. And he's good no matter what he does. But, man, just to have him in that booth for 25 years is such a great treat for Stars fans. And he's a legend over there. He's a celebrity amongst Stars fans. He's beloved. So they had his bobblehead night on Tuesday night, and we went over. I don't think I've ever had a bobblehead. We joke that if we had bobbleheads, the heads would be too big.
Ginormous.
They tip over.
Yeah, it would look ridiculous, especially with our noggins next to each other.
The Razor one isn't bad. It looks just like kind of a generic anchor guy, with the anchor man hair.
He seemed to enjoy it.
He did. And we'll hear the segment in a minute, but he was outstanding. He's got a great sense of humor. He's a great follow on Twitter. He doesn't take himself too seriously. Takes the game seriously, knows everything about the game. But has fun with the language, has his Razorisms, fancy words that he uses.
Wordplay on point.
Likes to show them off. But it was fun reminiscing with him about the glory days of the Stars. And they've got a good team this year, too. I mean, they're on the cusp of the playoffs. They'll probably get in. They've played really well the last couple of months. They've got a good young goaltender and some veterans who have kind of come on late in the season. But, I love, of all the sports we cover, what I probably enjoy watching in person most is hockey. Mm-hmm. It's just... There's nothing like it. And when this Stars franchise was at its peak, this town was just on fire.
You always talk about that.
For the Stars.
It would have been so cool to have been there.
They moved here in '93, a year before I did, and they got good right away, pretty much. And so people fell in love with it, and then all the regional, suburban Star centers started popping up, so kids learned how to skate, and
awesome.
Now hockey is a big deal among the youth here too. So it was great catching up with Razor.
Yeah, without further ado, let's take a listen to the interview that we had talking about his career, 25 years with the Stars. Take a listen.
Well, Razor, this is a magical night. This little baby is being handed out to the first 5,000 fans.
They're lined up down there.
They are. They're lined up as we record this
concert.
Pregame. What's it like to have your own bobblehead?
It's flattering. There's no question. I mean, look at it. It's bobbling and it's my head. It's at least a reasonable facsimile of my noggin. So
that looks pretty good.
It's an earlier version of me, Mike.
Hey,
I would say this: if they're going to do one for you at Fox, get an earlier version of Sam for him.
But 1998, 1999.
More pepper than salt is what you want in the hair. I'm pure pepper in this one.
It looks good. It looks good. 25 years with the Stars in the booth. Did you ever dream when you came here
That I get a bobblehead.
That hockey would become what it has become in Texas?
Oh yeah, because it happened almost immediately, right? Back in the mid '90s, when the team was that team, and the entire Metroplex kind of gave them a big embrace, and they were easy to embrace. A lot of characters on that team, they won all the time, and that really, planted a flag and put their foot forward with the franchise here. And I think it's established what we've seen the last quarter of a century around here, at least what I've seen.
Razor, when you think about the title run in 1999, the glory days of the Stars, what do you immediately think about when you think of that title run?
A Reunion Arena, and just how vibrant and how nutty that place was, and the fact that Tom Hicks, the owner, would sit, in general population. He broke up fights at times in the stands there. That tent out behind that everyone celebrated in after and before games. The games themselves, just how gritty and it was such a incredible combination of the best skill in the league, with guys like Madonna and the best grit and character in the league, with all those onboarded old Montreal Canadiens, Ludwig and Scrudland and Mike Keane, and it was a fabulous group to be around and to follow. And then the party when they actually won it in Buffalo, and flying home and watching Eddie lick the cup, and all those commercials on the networks afterwards. It was the best of times, man. From '96 to like 2001, unfortunately they lose to the Devils the year after. But in that window of time, man, it was the best of time to be a hockey broadcaster, to be around this team, and I think for fans to be at the games as well.
Yeah, I always, whenever people ask me the most fun time I've had covering sports here, it was always that era as well. Those teams were just great to cover, and obviously you were very, very close to them. This year, this is a Stars team that's played pretty well the last couple of months, but they're still, as we speak, on the outside looking in at the playoffs. What's going to have to happen for them to get in? What's the one area maybe of weakness that they have to overcome to become a playoff team?
Well, now that they have the hoodoo of the Razor bobblehead, look, they need to play the way they've been playing, really.
Yep.
You make a good point. Since the middle of December, I think they have like the second best record in the division. They're top 10 overall in the league. I mean, they look like a playoff team. They have since the middle of December. They stumbled a little bit in the opening couple of months. They're going to have to sustain what they've been doing. The schedule isn't easy, man. It's, one word, enervating. This is an enervating final 20 games they're going to face.
All right, give me a definition. This is a Razorism.
It's just exhausting. It's a little bit soporific. It's going to drive their energy down somewhat. And they're going to play every other night, and that's why depth is going to be really important. And they got to win games and pick up points. Everyone's in this big blob again, competing for 8 spots in the Western Conference. I think they're going to get in. It won't be easy, but they're going to get in, and they'll be a nasty, nasty team to face in the opening round.
Razor, speaking of your Razorisms, I mean, do you stay looking up new words in the dictionary and thesaurus? I mean, you're always so interesting to listen to. I mean, do these things just roll off the tongue for you naturally? I mean, how did you become such a wordsmith?
Yeah, I'm just a highly intelligent human being, and almost like I plopped down from a different planet or something, Sam. No, look, I'm an ignorant logger's son from Western Canada is what I am. But there's wonderful resources to find words and phrases, and it's like anything in life. If you work at it a little bit, and I'll see a word somewhere, I might not know what it means, and I'll think, man, that sounds good though, and maybe it'll work into a game, and I'll write it down or pump it into my phone and keep it. And then it's there, it's in the back somewhere, and then something happens within a game and you can nail it in there. But by no means is this just Razor intellect that's driving this forward.
I think it is.
It's research and in the very beginning, Sam, I always, when I got into this business, I was like, there's so many former jocks that get into this and they all sound the same, and they say that it was a good job and that was a great play, and they say it 59 times a game. You and I have talked about this many times. Not that you do this.
Well,
all the time,
as a former high school baseball player, people are always saying, man, you can't just rest on those laurels.
Had a cameo in some movie by
yeah, right.
But the point being that just use the vocabulary.
use
There's
the
better
language.
words,
Yep.
and use them a little bit. By no means am I trying to make all these people that follow us think that I'm that smart or intelligent, but I do enjoy it when they say, I had to check on that word. And this was before Google. I mean, they had to go to a thesaurus, like you say.
Well,
now they just pump, boom. Oh, what?
They all know what
that doesn't make sense.
They all know what mastodonic refers to when we're talking about a saying.
Elephantine is good too,
Not bad. You still enjoy this, clearly. 25 years doing
I
it.
do.
I've told you many times, and I don't pretend to know every color analyst in the NHL. In fact, you might be the only one I know, frankly.
But the best.
But I know.
The best one
I know color analysts in other sports, even network guys, and you're as good as anybody. I do mean that. Why do you still?
You're going to make the Razor bobblehead blush.
Why do you still enjoy it so much, Razor bobblehead and Razor?
Look at the pay I get. Look at. There are no raises or anything, but they give me bobblehead night.
Your bobblehead, by the way, is going to be the first one that goes on my desk. So.
Oh, I'm flattered by that.
I don't have one bobblehead.
Sam.
Mike has about 100. So.
Oh, you've seen our office. Don't get too flattered.
I know, but in order that I don't get too big a head with bobblehead Razor, the mascot got one before me. Victory Green had one before I did. So
why do you still like it so much? Just because you love the game? You just love? Is it as simple as just loving to talk about the game?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a good question. I don't think I've really sat around and pondered it much for a while. It's different all the time. Trying to still learn, because you get another generation of players and coaches, and the game evolves a little bit. Trying to stay up on that. It was fun. I sat down with Aikman before the season this year and asked him if he would go through his stuff, just so I could see how do you prepare, and ask him some questions, and then he gave time to me to do that. Just things like that, so that you're not stale and you don't just show up and talk about whatever's going on in front of you. So that I still enjoy preparing. I think that's the biggest thing. Once I don't want to prepare and I want to just go play golf on game day, I'm probably done.
Aikman said, I'm not really familiar with what you do, but I'd be happy to try.
I just thought I'd drop an Aikman in there.
I got another question. If you didn't call hockey, if this wasn't your gig, what sport would you like to?
It wouldn't be a sport.
It wouldn't.
This is it. I don't know anything else other than hockey. I played it, loved it, broadcasted it. I wanted to be an architect, and I was straight A's in drafting. It was called drafting back then.
Yeah.
You did it with pencils, and I still love. I love architecture, and that would have been the path I would have gone down. But as far as other sports and that, I wouldn't even want to take a stab at anything else. You could do multiple sports, right?
I could do, I'm not going to say every sport. This is the one sport I never did play-by-play on.
Do you want to do it once?
I was talking to Josh about it. Yeah, here we go. All right, everybody.
Not tonight. It's my bobblehead.
Oh, sorry.
It's an important one.
But he's architect. Didn't Seinfeld, wasn't that Seinfeld's bit? He always thought he could be an architect. Maybe not. Was it George?
I'm sure it was George.
I don't know. We're going down the wrong path. Sorry, bobblehead Razor. I'm going off the road here.
Your first NHL gig was with the Hartford Whalers, which announcing gig. Is that correct?
That's true. My first NHL, I did a year with the Whalers, and then I came here after that. So I a little bit with them, a little bit with ESPN. Are we allowed to say that on Fox? Or
absolutely, no problem.
And then prior to that, a couple years with some minor league teams, just kind of learning the craft a little bit. But you're right, in Hartford. And then they were going to leave and go to Carolina. I was like, okay, where am I going to go? And I knew a couple people here in Dallas, Hitch, Doug Armstrong I'd met, and they were looking for a new color guy. Ralph was moving over to play-by-play, and I came down and I was like, yeah, let's do this. And I've been here and doing this ever since.
Of course, you played on the great Edmonton teams. You were part of those great Edmonton teams, some of them. When's the last time you talked with...
How big a part do you think I was?
We don't need to get into that.
Okay.
When's the last time you talked to Wayne Gretzky?
He said to say hi at some meetings or whatever, because he's now a broadcaster as well.
And what kind of guy is he? Not to be fanboy.
Messier's doing the game here tonight, so I'll see him. As you know, we're all instrumental in the Oiler dynasty. Wayne's terrific. He's always been great. I'll never forget. I went in with Hartford when I was playing for the Whalers into LA. He was with the Kings. We each left. Gretz and I always say the Oiler life really ended that summer in '88 into '89 when we left.
Right.
Wayne and I. But we played him at the Forum back in the day, and he came over and he said, my wife, he said, Janet doesn't know anybody in this league, but she knows you, and wanted to come over and say hi.
Wow.
So they came over and said hi, made my day. All the Whaler guys were like, "Ooh, that's kind of a big deal. We didn't know you were that big of a deal." And I'm glad I'm glad we're starting to get guys like that into our world in broadcasting.
Yep.
Because for years they always ask, why is it always a fourth line plumber or a backup goaltender in broadcasting? Why can't we get the elite quarterbacks that they have in the NFL and on their broadcast and their best players in there? And I was like, easy, they won't pay them. As soon as you start paying them enough, they'll come and they'll do it, and they can add a lot. I think they'll get more comfortable as it goes along. But he's one of the best people I've ever known in this sport. It was incredible to watch him play and deal with people when he was, his time was crunched daily, and he always found time for everybody. Most humble superstar I've ever come across in my life, and he hasn't really changed all that much.
Well, this is one backup goaltender who has been incredible in the broadcast booth.
I have a bobblehead now.
And now it's Razor bobblehead night. Have fun tonight.
Thanks for coming and doing this with me.
That's great.
Thank you for
all right.
This was nice. You guys made me feel big here tonight.
Yeah, we'll get the best 3 minutes and 25 seconds of it.
Edit it down. Keep some of the good stuff this time.
Thanks, Razor.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, good to see you.
Razor.
All right.
Congratulations. Yeah, so Razor is just awesome, and I said this on TV the other night to you, Mike, but when I first got here, guests aren't allowed to come back in the studio yet, but I was just kind of on cloud nine with all the guests that we were having come in when I first got here.
It was cool for you to be able to meet a lot of people.
Yes, and I met a lot of people right away. Like I met Troy, Michael Irvin, Deion Sanders. I got to meet all these people and a lot of people.
Media people.
Yeah, media people too. And Razor was one of them. And, I had met him and we did the thing, and afterwards he was just so personable to me. Like he genuinely cared what I had to say. I mean, I hadn't even been in here 5 months. I think we had him on. I mean, who am I to him? And the fact that he showed me that much respect that early on, I don't take that kind of thing for granted because not everyone is like that. I just felt that he genuinely cared what I had to say and my opinions on things. And he would say, well, Sam, what do you think?
Oh, yeah.
It just really meant a lot to me.
I think that's something I rarely say, but yeah. Well, what was cool last night, too, on Tuesday night is they did radio only because ESPN had the telecast. But on the telecast, they showed the bobblehead and talked about Razor. Steve Levy, who the play-by-play guy for ESPN, and then Mark Messier, the Oilers legend, who was actually a teammate of Razor's, talked about him a little bit. And Razor pokes fun at his own playing career because he didn't play much. I think he played like 27 games over 8 years or something. But he was on the Gretzky Oilers team or teams that won championships, so he knows those guys. And he played professionally, which is more than most can say, and he's parlayed it into an outstanding career as a broadcaster. And
you can tell how much fun he has doing it after all this time. I mean, he's never appears to be bored. He's certainly not boring when he's on the air. He's one of the most unique, I think, broadcasters to listen to because, like, to your point, he makes it so interesting and he makes you want to watch and he makes you want to watch the game. So very unique talent, great at his job, greater guy. We were happy to have him. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about chicken fried steak.
Whether you're born here or just got here, here's some news. In fact, more news than anyone in town. Always local, just like you. So welcome, locals. Your news is here.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you again for liking, subscribing, and sharing our podcast. We're still new to this, Mike, so we're going to evolve in our podcast game, but for now, we're just trying to roll out once a week. And if there's things that you guys want us to talk about, tell us. DM us, add us on Twitter, because we're always up for doing whatever.
I especially like talking about myself.
Right.
So if there are things about me that you'd like to hear, let me know.
We already had a full pot on that. I think your time is up for a little bit, but
right.
We'll circle back maybe.
We'll have to do the life of Sammy. Your anniversary, is it
passed.
Oh no, I missed it.
It's fine.
What was the date?
It's too late.
What was the date?
It's too late.
Say it. What was the date?
It was
Do you
the
remember
11th
exactly?
or it was the 11th or 12th. But that was on a weekend, so it was
That
on a
shouldn't be
Friday
that
or
difficult
Saturday.
for me to remember,
He
'cause
forgot.
it's
Just
just
goes to show you how important I
4 or
am
5
to him.
days after mine.
He really wanted
let's
me as
do
a
the rest
co-host.
of the show on
Okay,
Sam's time here.
no.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
So sometimes I just have these random thoughts, right? And I don't know what our pal Glenn, who is one of the veteran editors here, he does an amazing job. He's edited some of my pieces that I've done. I just love the guy. I mean, we're always bantering about whatever. He's also
GFD.
Yeah, GFD. He's also a food connoisseur, and he just got this air fryer, which now he's really inspiring me to get an air fryer because I've just seen all these viral videos. Do you have an air fryer?
Do not.
Okay.
No, I don't think we do. No, I'm pretty
Mike
sure we
has
don't.
no idea because he doesn't cook, okay?
no.
That's all Ruth. So shout out Ruth, okay?
Oh, boy, I'm going to hear about that one.
So we talk about food all the time. Every time there's a Monday, I'll be like, okay, what'd you cook in that air fryer? And like, I love chicken thighs and all that kind of stuff. So he tells me about all these things. So anyway, I forget how we were talking about just food one day. And that just made me think, you know what I haven't had here? I haven't had chicken fried steak. And I know that's a staple in Texas, Oklahoma, and this part of the country. So I just decided to fire off a little tweet. And I said, random, never had chicken fried steak. Is it good? ? And part of me thought, oh, people are going to feel some type of way about this. Just like back when I lived in Oklahoma, I put out a statement that said Popeyes is better than Chick-fil-A. Not even a debate, which caused all kinds of hysteria. A lot of people were with me. A lot of people were against me. So I was surprised by the traction that the stir that this caused. No, I haven't had chicken fried steak. I never even knew that was a thing until like I moved to Oklahoma, and I was like, what? So what is it? Is it chicken, or is it actually, what is it?
Well, first of all, how can you have lived in these two states for almost a
and
decade?
Louisiana too, by the way.
Oh, that's impossible that you could have missed it. But I guess you've known what it is. You've just chosen not to eat it to this point.
Yeah, because it's like I'm not someone who veers off the crazy train with things. I don't want to say basic things, but I like normal staple things.
Well, we like to think of it as normal down here, Sam. I think if you were going to describe it, it's like a round steak. If you can picture what that is or sense what that is.
Like
so
a
it's not like a
Salisbury
sirloin steak or anything. But I guess it's sort of like a Salisbury steak.
Okay.
But it's got a breading on it that is sometimes known as heaven, the breading. And in Iowa, we would call them like a tenderloin. That's what we call the tenderloin, a pork tenderloin, a breaded meat like that.
Right.
But here, it's chicken fried steak, and then the gravy makes it for a lot of people too. The chicken gravy, the white gravy.
Yeah, the white stuff. And that's something I just can't get on board with there. I don't really understand what the gravy is. I tried it on grits one time. That's the other thing. I hate grits. Don't even bring that to me. It's not appealing to me. I feel like I'm eating mush. And then with that white gravy stuff.
I don't think I've ever had grits either.
So, and my mom even was like, well, what is it? She goes, I don't even understand. So got all kinds of recommendations about what kinds of chicken fried steak at what restaurants I should go to. So someone even suggested, hey, you should make an on-air bit with this. So I've decided, Mike, I am going to take y'all's suggestions from 3 different places. I am going to go and buy a chicken fried steak from 3 different places. And you and I, Mike, are going to do it on the air. We're going to rate them, and I'm going to see if I actually like it, because all of you out there really felt some type of way that I hadn't had it.
I think you'll like it. I mean, you can use as much or as little gravy as you want. I
love steak.
I don't use a ton of gravy, but it'll remind you of, I don't know what it'll remind you of. Maybe if you like those chicken finger, what'd you call them at Burger King?
Chicken fries.
Chicken fries.
I'm kind of basic with some stuff,
but it'll remind you somewhat of that. I think it's along the same lines.
But it's not okay. Here's the thing, though. It's not like I like Southern food. Like, I like fried chicken. I like brisket. I have had brisket.
You like the Cajun stuff? You
I
like
love
gumbo?
I do
jambalaya?
love. Yes, I love gumbo. I love jambalaya. I've tried boudin before, but when you start getting into the weird stuff like fried alligator and like deer, no. Any of the gamey stuff, like stay away with that. But no, I'm up for trying things, of course. And people are like, oh, like, well, what do you eat? Like lobster rolls in Boston. To be honest, I don't really like seafood. I've just started to dabble in it. I will eat salmon and things. I hate lobster rolls.
Yeah.
I don't even eat clam chowder. I don't even eat any of that.
I like clam chowder. My wife and I went to Maine.
I like corn chowder, though.
And had lobster roll. And I'm like, it's okay. I didn't see what all the fuss was about, frankly.
It's a
I didn't mind
staple
the
up there.
taste, but it just was so chewy and weird.
I think lobster tastes like chewy seawater to me. That's what it tastes like, and I just can't get down with it. But I guess if people are asking, well, what do you have in Boston that's unique to Boston? I mean, obviously seafood's a big thing, but so is Italian food. I love Italian food. The North End in Boston, if you guys ever go there, it's known for its Italian food. Obviously not barbecue in that way. So again, I'm not someone who I'm not this fancy person who tries all this different stuff, but
you also mentioned how you'd never owned a pair of cowboy boots, right?
I have never owned a pair of cowboy boots and will never own a pair.
Why are you so against it?
I'm not saying I think cowboy boots look great on other people. They're just not for me. I just think I look silly. I think they look silly on me, and I can't envision when I would wear them.
You're wearing boots right now.
These are Doc Martens.
Okay.
This is different.
All right.
I just can't envision myself. I don't know where and when I would. And if you say a rodeo, no. I mean, I've covered rodeos and stuff, but no, I'm not going to a rodeo and wearing cowboy boots. I don't have anyone to get. Some people can rock them, okay, and that's great. I'm not a person that can rock them, and I'm not from here. I think people are like, oh, she must not be from here. No, I'm not from here.
Producer Landry was talking about how the last pair of cowboy boots he had, he was 8 years old or something.
Yeah, Landry, our producer, outed me on Twitter, and basically was like, and she also said, right? Yes. Landry, say hello to the people.
I mean, you know, we're getting controversial on Twitter, so I figured people would have an opinion about you not wanting cowboy boots.
And it doesn't mean because I'm ready for the people like, well, tell her to go back to where she came from. Like, I love.
Will they have that look on their face?
I mean, maybe.
Tell these people to go back where they came from.
I love Dallas. I've always been able to adapt to wherever I go, and there are certain things that I just won't take on. Like one of the things I said, and I now use it. I said, I'm never going to say y'all and I say it all the time now. And another thing I love that people in this part of the country say is when they say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. I just think it's very endearing. Remember being in Louisiana, I would have little kids say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, or whatever, and everyone. But if you say that back home, like if you say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, they'll immediately say, do not call me ma'am because it makes me sound old. Please call me by my first name.
And that is interesting. Where I grew up too, even your the parents of friends of yours, like when you were a little kid, you call them by their first name.
Yep.
Well, here, no, it's my daughter's friends, would call me, Mr. Ducey, and it was always, I'm like, that's my dad. But there are differences, obviously, that we can probably dive into more at some point. From where we grew up to where we are now. But the great thing, I think, among others, about the DFW area is the fact that so many people come in from all different parts of the country.
Great.
And, some of the Texans that are here, I've always found to be the most welcoming people that I've ever been around.
Really nice people.
I've lived a lot of different places.
Yeah.
So.
No, and I appreciate people welcoming me, even though I'm not from here.
And if you ate chicken fried steak, just think how welcoming they would be. If you didn't mock the state food, chicken fried steak.
So we're going to do it. We're going to do it on the air. We're going to do it soon. Maybe.
That'd be good.
Maybe a couple weeks we'll do it.
Cool.
What else? What else you got, Mike? Anything else on your mind?
I don't really know. I mean, it's
you want to get off your chest?
It's that weird kind of time of year from a sports standpoint. The Mavs are revving. I hope just from a coverage standpoint that we have two teams to cover in the playoffs.
I agree.
Mavs obviously are in.
Yeah.
Stars are kind of either or. It's just it's so much fun when you've got one of those teams having a playoff game every night.
It really is. I don't think
for a while.
people, especially in this business, when you're a fan, it's one thing too. But when you get to when you're coming in knowing that you get to talk about these things every night, I mean, there's a certain, and I'm sure when you're traveling with the teams all the time like you did, you're always working, but you don't even really pay attention to that because you yourself are running on adrenaline because you're just always talking about the biggest thing that's going on in this market.
And we haven't done much baseball yet, but the Rangers are underway in
Yeah.
Arizona, and looks like we're going to get the manager Chris Woodward on TV Sunday night, so we'll have that on Free for All Sunday night at 10. I'm a big fan of Woody's. I like the guy a lot, and I'm glad that they have stayed with him to this point through some lean years. And
spent a lot of money.
looks like they're going to be able to produce some runs. Whether they can get anybody out is another question, but we'll be able to talk with him. And I'm hoping we have a very special football guest later this week, too. I'm not going to jinx it in case it doesn't happen, but you'll know who that is and might hear that person on the next podcast if that comes through.
All right. Well, that's going to do it from my end. Mike?
All right. For Sammy the G, and Landry the producer, what's your middle initial, Landry? V. Okay.
So
LVR.
I like
nice.
that.
I like that, too.
That's smooth.
Sammy the G, LVR, and MFD. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on TV and on the Free for All after party. All right.